Going to start the recording. So welcome to the Science and Math Academic Recovery Training workshop today, presented by the College of Science and Math, the Student Success Center.
So today's agenda, we're going to go over the review of GPA and academic standing, UMass Boston academic policies, course load planning, academic resources, and strategies.
Awesome. So we're going to kick it off with talking about GPA and academic standing. GPA, what is it? Why is it important? It stands for grade point average. It's important for a few main reasons. The first is it determines your academic standing, which is a term you'll hear often. We'll talk about it a little bit more on the next couple of slides. It also determines your entry into specific programs. For example, if you want to be a management major, you need a 2.75 GPA to do that. Or maybe you want to go to medical school and you want to shoot for, like a 3.5 or 3.7. You can talk about, the GPA requirements for those programs. It also determines your eligibility for graduation. You need a 2.0 in order to get a degree from UMass Boston. There are two types of GPA. The first is your cumulative GPA. That is the culmination of all of the classes that you have taken at UMass Boston. It does not include grades if you've earned grades as a transfer student or AP credits. It's just the classes you've taken at UMass Boston, but it's all of the classes you've taken at UMass Boston. The second type of your GPA is your term GPA, or often referred to as your semester GPA. And as you could have guessed, that's all of the grades that you earn in the specific semester.
So academic standing, so this is why you guys are all here. Either you're right at the cusp of 2.0 or you're right under. So as Emily said, we want to do a 2.0 and over, just so you're eligible for graduation, which is good standing. 3.5 and above is a Dean's List honors. And I believe after every semester, if you are above 3.5, it will show on your degree audit. And then if you're below a 2.0, that's when, you're going to get these alerts and warning, probation, all of these other stuff that we don't want you guys to go through.
Yes, and we're going to talk about each of those on the next slide. One important thing to note is that the university, the last few semesters due to COVID-19, has not run academic standing. So we have not told any student that they are in alert, warning, probation, any of those for the last 3 semesters. I'm not sure exactly what the university's plan is going forward, but what we are going to go over are what the typical academic standings are and what they mean, with the assumption that these rules will likely go back into place in the near future. Again, we're waiting on a final word for this semester, but it is our assumption that these rules will kind of take place. And it looks like we have a question. Ken, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, so for this semester, you still guys don't know how the academic standing works right now.
There has not, there has not been a final say. It's my assumption that we will likely go back to original, how things were before COVID. But since there was no academic standing run the past few semesters, it's hard to know exactly where people will shape up, because it's like, you go from semester 1 to semester 2, but if there was no standing in semester 1, what do you pull from? So we'll get into that a little bit more on the next slide, but essentially there's no final word yet. You will get that information from the university when that decision has been made, and if I hear of any information, I will certainly share it with you, but as of right now, we're just going to kind of go on under the assumption that these are the current policies. Does that answer your question? Oh, did I freeze?
You didn't freeze them.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit more about each of those academic standings. So first is good academic standing. That's where we want all of you to be. Cumulative GPA is a 2.0 or higher. That means that you are in good academic standing. If you are in your first semester at UMass Boston, so that should be nobody in this group, but if you are in your first semester at UMass Boston and your GPA is below a 2.0, we would consider you to be on academic alert. Academic warning is when any semester in which your term GPA is below a 2.0, but your cumulative GPA is a 2.0 or higher. So maybe, your overall GPA is above a 2.0, you're in good academic standing, but you had a tough semester and your GPA, your term GPA fell below a 2.0, that would be academic warning. Academic probation means that at the end of your second or third or fourth or fifth or subsequent semester in which your cumulative GPA is below a 2.0. So in your first semester, if your GPA is below a 2.0, that's alert. Any semester after that, if your cumulative GPA is below a 2.0, that's probation. Now, you can stay on probation in what's called extended probation. If even though your cumulative GPA is below a 2.0, maybe it's like really low and it might take a few semesters to get it back above a 2.0. As long as your term GPA is above a 2.3, you can stay on what's called extended probation. So it might take a few semesters for your GPA to get back above a 2.0. That's okay, as long as you are getting at least a 2.3 semester GPA. Suspension means that after a semester of probation, if your cumulative GPA is still below a 2.0 and you don't meet that 2.3 term GPA, you would be academically suspended from the university and asked to spend at least one semester away from the university. And then academic dismissal means that you don't meet the retention standards. So maybe you're suspended, you come back, you still can't meet the GPA requirements, you would be academically dismissed and you would need to spend at least 1 year away from the university. I'm going to pause here. Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay. So next slide.
So we have this GPA calculator, and I'm still kind of getting used to it too. But basically what it is there's 3 types of areas that you can put in for your GPA that you want to kind of search for. So we have like a semester GPA, a cumulative GPA, and the goal GPA. So as like Emily was talking, maybe you have a semester GPA, and I believe that's when what you think you'll be getting throughout the semester, you put it in, and then it would tally, correct, Emily? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And then the cumulative GPA, that's the one I'm a little tricked up on. What's that one? Okay.
Yeah, the GPA calculator, I always say it's kind of confusing to use. So if you do want to use the GPA calculator, I highly recommend making an appointment with your advisor and kind of going over it with them as well. But as Katie said, the semester GPA, you would put in all of your grades, hit calculate, and it would tell you based on these grades that you've put in for these classes this semester, this is your semester GPA. When you click on the cumulative GPA, it asks you those same questions. What grades do you think you're going to get in those classes? But it would also ask you for your current cumulative GPA, and it would tell you based on your current GPA and these grades that you project in this class, what would be your cumulative GPA at the end of this semester. And then the goal GPA would be like, maybe you don't know exactly which, you don't know exactly what grades you're going to get in your classes, but you want a 2.0 overall GPA. You could say, I want a 2.0 overall GPA, and the calculator will tell you if you want a 2.0, you need to get XYZ in your current classes.
And this is just a good tool just for you guys to kind of be aware, not going into, well, maybe I'm not doing so well in a class, I might be getting a C- or something. How is that going to affect my GPA in the semester, cumulative, all of that? So it's just, as Emily said, it's really helpful to do it with an advisor so you can kind of see where you're at or where you think you might be at. And maybe that's a time, if you do it sooner in the semester than later in the semester, you could always maybe go to your professor and get some extra credit work, or make sure that you study, or you're doing your papers and the deadlines and all that, so you get it all up front and you're kind of know on the back of your hand, all right, this is what I kind of need to do.
Perfect. Yes. Okay, so now we're going to dive into some academic policies. Before we do, does anybody have any questions about GPA? Feel free to just shout it out. Okay, so seeing none, we're going to dive into the academic policies. So we're going to talk about 4 important ones. There are lots, but these are the 4 that come up the most often. So we have the repeat policy, the pass-fail option, the withdrawal option, and incompletes. So the first one is the repeat policy. This is a very important one for especially if you want to improve your GPA. You can repeat up to 4 classes at UMass Boston, but individual courses can only be repeated once. Meaning if you take Chem 116 and you fail, and you take it again and you fail again, you've exhausted your number of repeats for that course and you would need permission to take it again. But you can only repeat 4 classes at UMass Boston. You can sometimes petition for a 5th if you need it, but it's not a guarantee. When you repeat a course, both grades are going to show up on your transcript. It's not like one gets erased and, whatever. They both show up on your transcript, but only the new grade counts in your GPA. So if your GPA is really low because you got an F in Chem 116 and you repeat it and you get an A in Chem 116, that F in your GPA that's factoring into your GPA as a 0, that's going to come out and the new grade is going to go in. And that can really bump up your GPA very quickly. If you withdraw from a course, it does not count towards your number of repeats. So let's say you are having a tough time in Chem 116 and you withdraw and then you take it again next semester, that is not considered a repeat because you did not complete the course the first time. Before you repeat a class, and I cannot stress this enough, you want to talk to your advisor because you're only allowed a certain number of repeats. And if you're repeating a course that you're not allowed to, Weiser won't stop you. Weiser will still allow you to register, and then you get in trouble because then you're doing what we call taking an illegal repeat, and you won't earn credit for that class. So before you repeat a course, please talk to an advisor or read the repeat policy on the registrar's website for more information. And I think I saw someone's hand go up. Was there a question?
Yeah, Ken did.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
So what if you did fail for the second try for the repeat of that class? Will it still also just get rid of the fail and it's just going to say pass as well?
So to clarify, if you got an F in a class before or whatever grade, and
then repeated
pass fail.
Yeah, then the pass fail, it will get rid of the fail. And I passed it.
If you pass the course. If you pass the course, what happens is the F comes out of your GPA, but no new grade goes in because you haven't earned a letter grade for that class, but the F still comes out. So it won't go up as much as it would if you took it for a letter grade and got a high letter grade. But the F would come out.
I'm sorry, it's just my headphones are being freaking out. Yeah, but yeah, that makes sense.
Did you hear that though?
So basically, the pass fail would also drop the F. If once you pass it with the pass fail, the F of the first try would be dropped. Okay.
Correct. Yes. Okay. Great. That's a great question. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So pass fail option. So if you earn a D- or better, you will earn a P in the class, which is pass. A grade of P does not factor into your GPA, but you will still earn the credits. If you get an F, that will count into your GPA. You can only take 1 course pass fail each semester and no more than 8 during your time at UMass Boston. There's also rules about taking major classes pass fail. So as Emily said with the repeat policy, make sure that you check in with your advisor about, doing a pass fail before you actually do it. And the deadline for this semester is November 19th. One thing I do want to stress, kind of the same with the repeat, is I went to one of my FSC classes and a professor had mentioned that a lot of students will just opt to do pass fail, not knowing what their grade is. So it's really important for you guys, if you do feel like you're not doing well, first speak to your professor, see how you guys are doing. Maybe you're doing better than you think. So that's one thing to do, but also the rules about changing, you might need a certain grade to move on to the next course. And if you only have a pass fail, that gets very tricky.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's very important. And especially for people who are science majors. A lot of science majors, or honestly most, will not allow major courses to be taken pass fail, or if they do, it's only a small amount. So it's really important, like Katie said, to meet with your advisor. Okay, moving on. The course withdrawal option. This is an option that I highly recommend if you are struggling in a class and you are beyond the point of return. Like if you are like, there is no way I'm going to pass this class, the course withdrawal option may be for you. So you can withdraw from any individual course. There is no limit as to how many times you can withdraw. But if you do make it a habit of withdrawing, it can impact your financial aid implications. It can have implications on your financial aid, I should say. Like for example, if you're a full-time student and then you withdraw from 3 classes and now you're a part-time student, that can impact your financial aid in a semester. And over time, if you make it a habit of withdrawing from 3 of your classes each semester, you may not be meeting satisfactory academic progress, and you would be, in jeopardy of losing financial aid. You earn a grade of a W, which does not count in your GPA, and you do not earn any credits. This will show up on your transcript. So it doesn't affect your GPA, but it will show up on your transcript. You can take the class again in the future. It's not considered, a repeat, but there are no refunds. So if you withdraw from a class, you are still financially responsible for that class. So it's a big decision. Talk to your advisor before you withdraw. Talk to your professor before you withdraw. I've worked with students before who have said, I have to withdraw. There's no way I'm going to pass. And then I get an email from the professor later that says that student has a B. Why would they withdraw? Or why would they take it pass fail? So talk to your professors. Oh no, did I freeze?
You didn't freeze.
No, okay, good. Sorry. It's the campus Wi-Fi, I'm telling you. There is a deadline to take a class pass fail. It is the same as the pass fail deadline. It is Friday, November 19th. If you come to us on, Monday, what would that be? The 22nd, or, email us on Saturday, we will say, sorry, it is too late to pass fail or withdraw from a course.
Incompletes. An incomplete grade is reported only when a portion of the assigned or required classwork or the final examination has not been completed due to extreme circumstances. So say Emily's great example of you were going to your final and then something happened, you might have gotten car accident or whatever, something awful, and you couldn't make it to your final exam, that would be an incomplete. So you and your professor would need to work out some type of agreement on how you would finish up the work. You have 1 year to finish the coursework. If you don't, then you will get an IF, which just results as a failure to complete the course. So I believe you don't get the credits for that if that is what happens.
Correct. Yep. It would be like a regular F. All right. Early alerts. This is something that will be happening sometime this week or next week. You may start to get some notifications about some early alerts. So early alerts are little notifications in Wiser. They can be red, yellow, or green. They're posted by your professor. And it'll show up, I think, in the grades section, I'm pretty sure, on Wiser, but don't quote me on that. Not every instructor chooses to put in an early alert. So just because you don't see one doesn't necessarily mean you're doing well. But if you receive a red alert, that means that your professor feels that you are in danger of failing the course. If you see a yellow alert, it means you're passing, but you're just skating by. So might want to have a conversation about that. Green, give yourself a pat on the back, keep up the good work. If you have questions about any early alerts, reach out to your advisor. Your advisors will likely be emailing you in the next couple of weeks if you're somebody that does have an early alert, to try to set up some time to help you with that. But this is just one other way that we try to support students who maybe are having a tough time in a class. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions about any of the policies that we have gone over so far? Seeing none, we will move on.
Course load planning. So this is our little graph. So usually for part-time, it's anything under 12 credits. So if you're at 12, that's perfectly fine. You'll be at full time. But if you're 11, then you're part time. 12 to 15 is kind of, or 12 to 17 is kind of where we typically recommend each academic semester, just for you guys to be on track for graduation in 4 years. Usually average of 15 credits per semester usually works out. And I believe if you have 6 credits, that will be fine for financial aid. Yes, eligible for financial aid.
Yes. So thinking about your course load is really important. So you've probably maybe started thinking about classes for next semester. Spring registration is going to start in early November, and we want to make sure that you're registering for a number of courses that is appropriate for you. It's always better to take less classes and do well in it than it is to take a whole bunch of classes and do poorly and have to pay to repeat them all. So the general rule of thumb that we like to give is that for every 1 credit you're taking, plan to spend 2 hours outside of class doing studying, homework, working on that class. So for example, if you are taking 15 credits a semester, and like Katie said, if you need 120 credits to graduate, if you divide that by 4 years, that means you're taking 30 credits a year, divided by 2 semesters is 15 credits a semester. That's how we get to that 15 credit average. So if you're taking 15 credits, you should plan on dedicating 45 hours a week to your classes. That means 30 hours of that homework and study time, because 15 times 2, plus the 15 hours a week that you're actually in class. 45 hours a week, I don't know about you guys, that's a full-time job. That's like more than a full-time job in a lot of cases. That's like working 6 days a week, honestly. So think about how many hours should you be dedicating to your classes, and how many are you actually? If you're somebody who works full-time and you take classes full-time, that's essentially having 2 full-time jobs. When do you sleep? When do you eat? When do you do homework? So think about all of these things when you're picking your course load for next semester.
Another thing, just to point out, different majors too. I work with a lot of CS majors, and we typically only recommend 2, maybe 3 CS courses per semester, just because the material is so dense and so it's high level, where you wouldn't be able to do 3, 4 CS classes. And I'm pretty sure bio is the same way once you get up into the higher levels. So just be mindful. I know a lot of students come to me and they say, I just want to finish the quickest way that I can. And I totally agree with that. I mean, I want to get you out of your school as fast as you can. But as Emily said, once you might fail a class, you might withdraw from classes, all this starts adding up. So you definitely want to be mindful of what courses you can handle. This is just a little graph. Recognize limits, evaluate academic and major fit, assess course load, and determine priorities. So again, if you're doing full-time course load and a full-time job, as Emily said, when are you guys providing time for yourself? How are you getting all your schoolwork done? Just traveling to work is sometimes a nightmare sometimes. So it's just all about what you guys can actually handle, and you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So now I want to pause for a second and give you a minute to participate in this reflection activity. And so I want us all to think, okay? Because as humans, we all have strengths and we all face challenges, some of which are within our control, some of which are not within our control, but think about this with an academic lens. Think about, what are your academic strengths, your academic challenges? What are within your control? What is not within your control? Maybe a strength within your control is that you really want to do so great in all of your classes this semester that you got ahead of the game. You are good at time management. You went and talked to your supervisor. You said, I can only work on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I'm going to do classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Time management is really a strength of yours, and it's within your control to go talk to your supervisor and set up this perfect schedule. But let's say that same supervisor, maybe you go to them because you are really struggling with time management, and you go to your supervisor and they say, hey, I really need some time off. I need to focus on my school. What if they say no? So now this is a challenge because you're struggling with time management, and it's not within your control because your boss said no. And you can always say like, oh, well, maybe quit the job and find a new job. And then that is within your control. But maybe you really need that income, and you can't quit the job. So think about your own personal strengths and challenges as it relates to your academics, and think of ones that are within your control and not within your control. So I'm going to pause right here and let you work on this. And then, yes, we are recording this presentation, so we'll send out the presentation at the end. So thank you for asking that. So we're going to take a second, pause, think about this, and then we'll chat as a group. Take another minute to finish up your thoughts. All right, and I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second just so we can all see each other. Again, yes, we will be emailing out this presentation, so if you have to go, please feel free. But I just kind of want to open it up for, if anybody has any comments or questions about that activity. What was that activity like for you? And I know we are, recording for other students to see. So if you feel more comfortable writing it in the chat or something, feel free to share that way as well. Was there a certain box that was easier to fill in than another, or harder to fill in than another?
So I think something within my control is like my time management, and I think something that is like really within my control is like family emergencies. Like let's say something happens within the family, and yeah, and exactly. So that's what I can say is not within my control, and I feel like the time management I can just like try to stop working like I don't really work during the week anyways. I just need to like manage my time and stuff like that. So time management is something within my control that I can like work on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Ruth. I know time management is something that Katie and I were just talking about that earlier, that we've been hearing from students is something that is really challenging, especially when you've got other, family responsibilities and work and all of that. It can be really challenging. Has anybody in this group, Ruth, or anyone else, have you found any strategies that help you have good time management? Like, is there something that works for you for time management? Anybody?
For me, what helps is planning at least the date for tomorrow at least. How would you?
Like to be honest, I think you do need to like take a break sometimes. Like don't try to let's say you have an exam, don't just say I'm gonna just going to study. Try to take a break in between because I feel like that way your brain works well and you're able to actually study well and you still have time to do other things. So I think taking a break in between like our studying does help to study time, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Ken was sharing too, like, planning out tomorrow before you get there is also really great, so that you're not like okay, tomorrow comes and you're thinking, oh, okay, what should I do today? If you've already got a list of what you want to accomplish and when you want to accomplish it, that's really great. And then absolutely, Ruth, like taking breaks as they come, you know, and scheduling breaks, it kind of plays a trick on your brain, because if you know, okay, I'm going to take a break at, you know, 3:30, maybe you're going to be more productive at 3 because you know at 3:30 there's a break coming. So that's all fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Any other final thoughts before we move on? All right, so I'm going to go and reshare my screen here, and we will move on.
So academic resources and strategies, people that can help you, your advisors. So like me and Emily, other advisors that are in your WISER, we're here to help you. That's what our job is. Your professors and also your classmates. Other resources, strategies, academic and campus resources, and study strategies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after.
Yes, and just one little plug here. If you don't already, please, please, please make sure you are regularly checking your UMass Boston email at least once a day, if not twice a day, because we do send out most of our important information that way. So, Katie, did you want to take this slide too?
So your advisors, to make an appointment or view our drop-in hours, you just go to umb.edu/SSC and you'll see which one of us is assigned to you. It's also in WISER as well. So just make an appointment. It doesn't have to be about just course planning. It can be, I've had some students come in saying that they were struggling with time management. How can I help them? And I pointed them to the correct resource. Or it doesn't, like I said, it just doesn't have to be about your course planning or anything like that. If you are struggling in a class, if you don't know how to write an email to a professor, but you want to get involved with something, you know, that's what we're here to help you with. And we're located in Wheatley Hall, 4th floor, suite 151.
Awesome. Don't forget to reach out to your professors. Don't be shy about contacting them. Honestly, they love to hear from students. If you have, you do have an assigned faculty advisor. So make sure you're using them as a resource. I advise biology students. I am not a biologist. So if you have specific questions about your career, about your classes, use your faculty advisors. And not just your faculty advisors, but your other professors can also be really great resources for you. These are people who are champions of that subject. You know, they've studied it, they've got a doctorate degree. You know, ask them questions, learn from them. You can usually find their contact information on their syllabus. If it's not there, you can find their phone, their email, their office hours, what research they've done. Lots of really cool stuff in the on the UMass Boston website if you just type their name in. Some things to ask them, you know, maybe you want to show up at their office hours. You don't necessarily have to have a problem to be meeting with them. You can just kind of ask them, how am I doing? How can I improve this semester? Am I studying the right material? How much longer in the semester do I have to bring up my grade? You know, all of those sorts of things are good ways to start a conversation.
And academic services. So the Reading, Writing, and Study Strategy Center, which is located on the 1st floor of the campus center. Supplemental instruction are free small group classes taught by advanced students who have already taken the course and have done well. They coordinate the SI session with the instructors of the courses, and they run all semester. So that's honestly a great tool if you don't want to go to your office, to your professor's office hours, but you want to, you know, maybe still get some help. This would be a great tool just because these students already have gone through it. And a subject tutoring program, free individual or group tutoring for students enrolled in 100, 200 level courses in CSM or CLA.
Yes, and I'm also, when we email out this link with the video, I'll also send out the slides so that you can have these clickable links, which I think also may help. So on that last page that Katie was just talking about, oops, I'm going the wrong way, where we talk about subject tutoring. This subject tutoring is available for 1 and 200 level courses in CSM and CLA. If you wanted to know exactly which courses those are, I've copied and pasted them here. So there, if you see any courses on here that you are in, maybe it be biology, chemistry, computer science, econ, math, I feel like every math class is on there. If you struggle in any of these courses, please reach out because there are tutors waiting to help you. These are services you have already paid for with your student fees. You might as well take advantage of it. So please, please, please take advantage.
Do you want me to do this one?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, sure.
Other resources on campus. So the Ross Center, provides academic accommodations, resources and training in assistive technology. A lot of students don't know like the Ross Center exists, but it really is helpful for students. You know, you might need some more time on a test, which you had in high school. This is somewhere you would go, but your professors don't know this. So it's up to you guys to kind of make the initiative. Counseling Center, which is located in Quinn Hall, make sure that all students have good mental health and wellness care. And a lot of our, on the form that you guys filled out, a lot of you guys said, you know, mental health what played a real significant part in why you're struggling in your classes. You know, Counseling Center is a great tool. Career services and internships. Helps students with career plans, as well as finding internships and co-op experience. So if you have work study or anything like that, even if you don't have work study, you can always, career services is great. From what I heard, only about 20% of students actually go to the career services, which is unfortunate because it's such a great program. So even if you're in a biology or computer science major and you're like, I don't really know what I want to do, this is again a great resource. They can help you find different things of what these fields, what you possibly could do out of college. UAccess, the mission of UAccess is to help UMass Boston students meet their basic needs so they can achieve academic success, food insecurity, housing insecurity, legal help, financial counseling. UAccess at umb.edu, the Dean of Students website, and of course your peers.
Yeah, and just a plug for the Dean of Students website. If you are struggling with anything and we have not gone over a resource to help with it, go to the Dean of Students office. If you've missed a lot of classes because there was a death in your family or you got COVID, or go to the Dean of Students office. They really kind of, I don't want to say they have the magic wand, but they really can help a lot. So please use them. They're great people. And then your peers, I have this linked here to the UMB Involved, which is a place where you can learn about different clubs and organizations. College is what you make of it. What you put in is what you will get out. And so connect with your peers, because I think you'll find that having strong connections and making friends on campus will ultimately also help your academics, because you are a holistic person. You have a lot of different parts of you. And when one part does well, they all do well. So now I just want to go over some quick effective study strategies and techniques. And so these are just a couple. There are a lot of different ones that work, but these are two that tend to be pretty popular with our students. The first is the study cycle. So studying is not just let me sit at my desk and I'm going to learn all this material. Studying really is a cycle. It starts with before class. So before you go to class, make sure you're taking time to preview the material. Maybe that means reading the chapter. If you're like me and you cannot sit down and read 45 pages of a chemistry textbook, or you'll blow your brains out, it's a bad example, figure of speech, but that is not me. Maybe I'm going to skim the chapter, maybe I'll pay attention to the headings and the bold words, do an old fashioned first grade picture walk and just look at the graphs, do anything where you can review the chapter and prepare any questions you may have. Already get that general idea. So that way, when you go to class and you attend class, while the professor is lecturing, you've now got that general big idea of what's going to be discussed. And so now you're in this great spot where you can now pick up on the little details and pick up on things that maybe you would have missed had you not already previewed the material. So in class, take notes. Handwriting notes is good because it just helps your brain remember better. But if typing is better for you because you don't have great handwriting or you can type faster than you can write, that's fine. And make sure you ask questions. I usually recommend ask at least one question a class because it shows you're participating, it shows you're listening, and your professors take notice. After class, review your notes as soon as possible. Katie and I have a colleague, Trish, who some of you may know. And Trish always says that if you need to study more than 24 hours after the class, you're really reteaching yourself the material. So make sure that you are studying as soon as possible after class. And that could just be rewriting your notes. It could be, reorganizing. It could even be while you're waiting for your next class to start. Just quickly skim over what you took in. And then ongoing throughout the week, make sure you schedule in times to study that material again. Review your notes, review your handouts, review other readings. College is different than high school. You have to put in a lot more work, and a lot of the learning is on you. If you show up in a high school classroom, you kind of expect your teacher to tell you everything you need to know. But in college, the expectation is that you do all the learning yourself and you come to class to discuss it. So, it's just getting into that mindset of really taking ownership of your academics. So, and I'll just like click through, Katie. So whenever you're good, just let me know.
So another study technique. So choose a task to work on. Maybe it's reading, writing, an outline, or the first several pages for a paper, or solving a set of problems. And put your phone away and eliminate as many distractions as possible. So that's a really good tool because we all get distracted. And I know this kind of goes hand in hand with the other study technique. If you're handwriting your notes in class, that means you're not being distracted by your phone or your computer. So it's kind of a little bit better because you're obtaining the material more instead of checking your phone on Facebook or anything like that.
Absolutely.
And so you want to set a timer for 25 minutes, focus on the task until the timer goes off. So honestly, I did this in college and it really helped me a lot because I knew it's like forcing your brain. Okay, I have a break, almost like at the beginning of the presentation when we were talking about breaks. You have a set goal, you have a break coming up. I'm going to see what I can get done in 25 minutes, take my break, and then go again. And once the timer goes off, reset it for five minutes and do whatever you like during the time. Check your phone, get a snack, take a short walk, whatever, just to give yourself a break because you earned that, basically. It's kind of reward. That's how I look at it.
I do jumping jacks. That gets my brain going.
And then you want to just repeat it again, repeat the process and as how many long stints you could go.
Yeah, and this is just to add, this is called the Pomodoro study technique. This is a very, very popular studying technique. It's very well known, and it's for exactly what Katie said. If you can study for 25 minutes, that's the length of an episode of The Office. You can study for that amount of time if you know that the break is coming, and then you just kind of repeat it. Maybe you find that your attention span is shorter and 20 minutes works for you, and then you take a 5 to 10 minute break, or maybe you find out that okay, I can really sit down and study for 45 minutes and then I'll take a 15-minute break. You can adapt this to what works for you, but essentially 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off tends to be a good middle. We're not here to reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of offices on campus who are here to support you. The Reading, Writing, and Study Strategy Center offers workshops just like this one all the time. These ones, most of these have already passed, but for example, they're going to have exam prep workshops next week. If you have midterms coming up, maybe you want to drop in and check out some of these workshops.
So next steps, schedule a follow-up appointment with one of your SSC advisors so you can talk more about your GPA, your career goals, success strategies, but also, like I said, if you just have anything else on your mind that, is stressing you out or you're a little concerned about, anything like that, that's what we're here for. We want you guys to make appointments with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are here for you. So that is all we really had today. I also do encourage you to follow us on social media. You could see our handles there at the bottom on Instagram. It's at CSM_SSC. And on Twitter, it's the same thing, but backwards. We do post a lot of good academic tips, important registration deadlines, opportunities, things like that on social media. So if you're on there, give us a follow. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Katie and I will stick on here for a few more minutes if anybody has any questions.
So where exactly do I find my advisor and advisor?
Thank you. I'll leave now. I have no questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ruth. I'm sorry, Ken, I couldn't hear what you were saying. Would you mind repeating that or typing it in the chat?
Okay.
I have a question. How would I be able to access like the Quinn Center without going there? Because I've used like their therapy services before, but I went on campus a couple weeks ago and it didn't seem to be open or accessible in person.
You want to make sure you're calling them ahead of time and scheduling with them. You said you've used their services in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get you the phone number for University Health Services and the Counseling Center. And you just want to, they do most of their work by calling because you also have to make sure you're going during their office hours. But with the COVID-19 testing and maybe in appointments, that can kind of vary sometimes who is in the office at what times. So give me 1 second here and I'm just going to look up UMB Health Services. That's a great question. Any other questions? Okay, let me see here.
It's going to be Cam, but let's see.
So this is the general UHS line, and then they can kind of direct your call to whoever is the designated party. And since this is a recorded presentation, if there's anybody in the audience listening, that's 617-287-5660. And they have a lot of great services, not just counseling services, but they've also got, if you need an immunization, if you need a physical, they can help with a lot of great stuff like that. Yeah. So we have some other questions in the chat. Where on Wiser do you find your advisor? You can find your advisor's names under where it says program advisor in Wiser. If you go to Wiser, you click on, I usually tell students to click on classic view, and then it's right there on the right. It says who your advisors are. Certain majors required like different people to lift their holds. Then there's another question, how do I get the freshman seminar requirement? Because it was CS in freshman, because I changed it, it disappeared. I'm not really sure what your question is, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Silver. And I'm going to stop recording because I think the rest are individual questions, but I will be sending out this recording.